anyway.
Good morning. I'm saddened to hear some of the news about your friends because many nights that could have been me or you or every one of us, right? However, um, we're here and I'm very honored to come and just give you guys a little bit of encouragement. It's not easy going about um, a normal life when you've done things like I have. Um, and Pastor has a great way of putting his words towards those types of um, traumas that we go through, right? Um, and a lot of times we make choices to go in a direction that is even worse than whatever trauma that you went through, right? A lot of us have gone through some situations that even Pastor, how does he put it? We come from a smoky house, right? So our our upcoming and our traumas kind of help push us into the roads that we take, and then it just leads to a whole bunch of mess. Um, and then it leads to us continuing making choices that are not helping our mess. Um, um, with me, it's always my mouth, right? My mouth um, takes takes the trophy on my end, right? I have made a lot of bad choices, but I think the choices that I've made um, that are worse are what I would spill out of my mouth, right? Um, so where do we go from where we were, right? I like to talk to you guys a lot of what my experience and my way of trying to figure stuff out. So I didn't go to no Bible schooling. I didn't take no Bible classes. I didn't go to no Bible colleges, but I did fail a whole lot in my life. I failed a whole lot. So I'm not gonna stand here and tell you, hey guys, this is the way it is. And I went and I studied this, and this is how it should be. And I'm not. What I'm saying is, I failed just as maybe worse than each and every one of you guys. And I fail still. Because, like Pastor said, how many of you guys have made it to where you're perfect now, right? Oh, so you don't battle your flesh? So you don't, so you don't have no problems with your flesh, right? Um, so in my situations, I've always been um, an individual that wanted control, wanted to make sure that this is the way that I want this. This is the way that I would like for this. This is, and if you're my girl or my boy or my homeboy or you're in my clique, this is what we're going to do, right? And unfortunately, as my upcoming, I had that platform to kind of manipulate and and I can say that I'm a manipulator. I'm a I'm a person that and not all of us have the same problems, right? But in my aspect, I want I want to have a say on how whatever's going around me is done. And I want it and some a lot of times it was wrong what I wanted to manipulate and when I wanted how I wanted things done and how we should do this and I can say that now and I think in my aspect the people I loved got the worst of it, right? Because if you were my homeboy and I decided we're gonna go do this crime, and you're gonna do this and you're gonna do that, and then if you guys were like, nah, homeboy, well, you know, you're not my homeboy no more, right? You're not. So that was a good part in a ways, right? You can do that. But what about when it's my wife? What about when it's somebody that I really love, that I really care about, that I'm acting a certain way that it's not right? Um, so I I can say that I've had a addictive past way of my life, right? I've always when I was growing up, I always smoked weed. So weed was like not even a drug to me. It was just like you guys smoke cigarettes. That's how I used to smoke weed. Um, when I never liked like cocaine or I never liked the feeling. I worry without with being sober. I worry. So when I would do anything like that, cocaine or because that's probably the worst I've ever done, I would really really worry, like um, crazy worry, and it was never something I enjoyed. So I didn't really do much of that. Thank you, God. But I did like drinking a whole lot of alcohol. I liked drinking alcohol. That was my thing. Um, so let me tell you something real funny. Um, I'm I'm an electrician, right? So well, I remember when homeboys would bring around cocaine or man, I remember saying shh. That's crazy, right? Hey, quiet. The electricity can hear us. Big dog. Real talk. That's funny, huh? I can laugh about it now. But I guess my mind was just, it was going crazy when I would do that. And then when you when you're an electrician, there's different wirings, you know, communication and all this and all this. And I thought, hey, homeboy, crazy, huh? I can laugh about that now. So when I would do alcohol, weed, I didn't care about it anymore. I'm drinking alcohol. And what did alcohol do to me? It made me into a monster because there was no more breaks. And my mouth that I have trouble with was vicious. And the people that were around me, which my wife, took the beatings, right? Not physically, but how do they say? Um, all the above, verbally, emotionally, all that you were talking about. I was, and it took me um, to a really low place where I was no longer my own best friend. I was no longer somebody that I looked in the mirror that I enjoyed grooming or looking at or whatever you want to call it, because all of us go and look in the mirror, right? We all brush our teeth. We all do what we need to do, right? So I no longer was happy with what I saw because I knew that I was not treating the people I love correctly. So once I got into that state of I'm failing, I can't even treat my wife right, I can't even act right, I want to drink. Um, it played a bigger role inside of me where I was just not happy. Um, and a lot went with that alcoholism because it played a role in me where I thought as long as I'm working, as long as I'm paying the bills, as long as I come home, even with a 12 pack every day after work, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supporting because that's what I was taught as a kid. You work, you work. For those of you guys who haven't heard some of my uh, background, I was a migrant worker. I picked crops, so work was something that was installed in me as a kid, and I thought just by me doing all this, I'm good. And yeah, I drink alcohol. Yeah, I smoke weed, but never have I not been to work and gotten a paycheck to pay what we need to pay. Wrong. Um, I, my best friend, um, I had lost my best friend. Um, you guys know Michaela. Um, um, I had I had built a wall around us, and she was in it with me, and I was doing all this badgering and manipulating and all that, and she's in there with me. So one day, Michaela, I was away at a job in Texas, and Michaela started coming to this church. She had met Tamara through an acquaintance, and they advised her before you go through your divorce and all that, why don't you come over here? So Michaela started coming here, and when I came from Texas, I was going through some crazy stuff too, and which led to more drinking, right? Because that's how I solved my problems, and I finally started coming here, and I've told my story, and I really don't want to go there because I feel maybe I shouldn't say some things. But I'm gonna be honest. It was different here. Like everybody had tattoos, and I was like, okay, I was like, okay. Um, and I wasn't like treated like I don't belong, or oh, obviously you got a problem, you're not following the rules, right? Um, and I wasn't. When I started coming here, I felt loved. I felt cared about. I felt people really had uh, words to talk to me about. And what were those words? Man, Jesus loves you. There's no changing that. And I was like, okay, you know, um, and we care about you, and we want to see you, and we want to help you, but we'd like for you to talk to us, right? And at first I was like, you know, and Pastor sat over kind of like where Miss Katie and the mayor of Independence are sitting. And he told me straight up, he says, man, I'd really like to get to know you, but you're gonna have to let it out, and talk to us. Just talk to us. So I started talking to Pastor, I started talking to Mark, and I started telling my situations and all my failures, and we got down to the nitty gritty stuff, right? I was at the rock bottom. My wife was about to leave me. My wife, um, I thought, well, sure, yeah, I got you a house already. I'm paying for this and that. Now you want me out? She's like, no, you can have that house. I'm leaving with the kids. I was like, what? She's not even, she ain't trying to tell me to leave. She's just telling me I don't want to be with you like this anymore, and I want you to change. And I remember I fought it. I fought it for a while. We had one last, I think it was her final farewell, but she wanted somebody present. So we had dinner at Pastor's house. And we ordered some pizza, and I was working at the ammunition plant in Parsons. And I came after work, which I thought was like, man, she's going to make me go after work. Sure enough, I drove from Parsons to Pastors, sat there, and she told me, you know what? We're not going to make it. And I was upset. Let's just leave it at that word. I was upset, and I asked her, I said, well, this is it? You're done? And she's like, yeah, I think we're. So Pastor had communicated with me towards the beginning, like, man, sometimes couples um, figure things out, and a lot of times they don't. But that's up to you guys. So I went back to my RV in Parsons, and I remember sitting there I had showered, I lay down in my bed, and I think I've told Mark the story. I remember sitting there and looking at my ring and rehashing the words, I'm done with you, this is it. So I got more upset, so I took the ring off and I threw it on the floor. So when I did that, I laid back down and I couldn't catch my breath. I couldn't catch my breath. And I had a lot of pain and I couldn't catch my breath. and I couldn't go to bed. I couldn't go to sleep. I was panicking. I was torn. I was at the worst feeling I've ever felt. Completely healthy, but really bad on the inside. So I called Michaela and I said, "Hey," she's like, "Yeah." And I said, "I really don't want to lose us. What do I got to do?" She said, "Well, to begin with, you got to stop drinking." I said, "Done." Says, "And I'd like for us to go to counseling and start going to church." I said, "Okay, done." And she was like, "Really?" Like thinking, you're not just telling me this. And I was like, "No, I really, I know I'm wrong." So I made a choice to leave all the stuff that was super monstering me, because I was already into a monster state, right? I'd already been through some trauma. I'd already lived a life that was not something good. But the alcohol and the weed and the dealing, whatever I was dealing, um, just super monstered me. Super gave me that super stuff, right? Where I've got all this and I'm Hulk green, right? Um, so I made that choice and I stopped that and I started coming to church. I started learning about love and and how it's okay that I made a lot of bad choices, that God still loves me. Um, I I didn't think it was gonna be like this, but I gave it a chance. I gave it a chance. I stopped drinking alcohol. I stopped smoking weed. I started letting love in my heart. I started treating my wife with respect. I started wanting to come to church. I started talking about my problems. Um, and my wife, Mark, Pastor, would listen to me about the way I felt. Like, you know what? I remember bringing up some stuff because my wife's like, "What? I'm looking at you, and you know, you don't know I'm looking at you, but you seem a little sad. What were you thinking?" Like literally. And I was like, "Man, I never really answered those type of questions before." But she asked me, "What are you thinking right now that I saw you get a little sad?" And I was like, "Man, when I was a kid, we went and broke into a house because we needed furniture for one of our party houses. And we stole some furniture to put furniture in a house that we used to party in." She was like, "Well, yeah, that would make you sad." And I told her, "Yeah, but it makes me sad that I was like that." She's like, "Yeah." And she said, "Well, would you do that again now that, you you're God's son and that he loves you?" And I said, "Heck no, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't even think about doing that. I'd probably be like, well, guys, this is our party house. And if we got to sit, we got to sit on the floor because we're not going to go steal, right, from somebody's house to go." And she's like, "Well, that's what matters." I didn't know then, but now I know. Now I know. So a lot of what I've did in my past, I had free realm to do because I didn't really know. I didn't know. Like, yeah, my family was Catholic and I don't know if you guys, I'm not trying to talk bad about anything, but it's a little different. The Catholic is a little different. It's like you read and this is what, and it's all good, right? Nothing bad, but it wasn't like here where it's like, hey, man, we got to show love, right? And I didn't know that I should love and should love myself and love my father and love, just love. And we all go through these, what do they, pastor calls them? Funks, right? We all go through these funks, right? Um, and we all have choices. But going back to the stuff that made me that super monster is not something that I want to do any ever again. Um, and it took a lot for me to understand um, that I'm not like other people, because some people can drink a glass of red wine or have one beer with their dinner, and that's it, right? They're done. Well, I'm not like them, and I have to understand that I'm not like them. That they can do that, but I can't. And I've got to be okay with that. They can do that. I can't. And you learn that through AA classes that I went to for a while, and don't get me wrong, I was always functional. I would drink, but I'd wake up the next morning and go to work still. Um, but my mouth with this alcohol, because I wasn't no falling down, bust my head, don't care about nothing, fouling myself sort of alcoholic. I was dang, he's drinking, he's gonna say this and this again. I was that type of alcoholic where I drink and now I got winded mouth here and I'm just gonna hurt people. Do you and do you know why I wanted to hurt people with my mouth? Because I was hurt. So it's like I knew this, so I made a choice and I decided to steer a different way. And it's never an even kill. I got this. I've made it. I've arrived. It's not. It's not. Um, I fail daily. Um, I fail in ways that it hurts me that I fail. Like this morning, there was a basket in front of the washer and dryer. And in my head, why is there a dirty basket of laundry? There's a washer right there. Why is this? So, my attitude, right? So then wifey comes out and says, hey, what's up with all that? What are you talking about? Says, what's up with that dirty laundry? She says, it's not dirty, it's clean. So she says, what's up with that tone? What's up with that attitude? I says, well, I thought, she's like, you thought it was dirty and that I not doing what I should be doing to your expectations. And I said, You need help folding that laundry? So I fell, right? But I let that little old self of me start spinning me, right? Start spinning me. And I'm humbled by that. Because sometimes we can start thinking too much of ourselves and think that we've arrived, or we're better, or we know what we're doing. I've told you guys, to have an amazing partner, you've got to become an amazing partner, right? So right now, I'm trying to become an amazing partner. And I listen, I let her talk, and I've got to love like Jesus loves, right? I should have said, huh, there's a basket in front of this washer and dryer. My wife hasn't been feeling very good. Let me ask her if she wants me to put it in the washer for her. Hey, babe, do you need me to wash that basket of laundry that's in there? Because if you do, you need to come and show me how to use this washer. And it would have been a whole different, right? I I don't know how to use a washer. I know the ones that you put the quarters in and you. Uh, so, but she did teach me how. Actually, we. I apologized for my tone and my attitude and my. No, half of it. So, what I wanted to I came here because I know that sometimes it makes you feel some kind of way, because it did me, right? It made me feel some kind of way when I'm not where I should be or where I could be. But it's not really about that. It's not entirely about that. What it's about loving, showing compassion, honoring our Father by doing the things we should, right? Showing love, showing compassion, um, being Christ like. And it doesn't take money to do that, right? Sometimes the best type is just being a listener and giving them some of your conversation and love. And because I've realized through this walk of failure that I was very good at. I was very good at failing. Um, that money, we need it, right? Like Pastor said, yeah, we need it. We need it. But you can have all that and be a piece of work. And where would we be if we're a piece of work and have that? There'd probably be no way you ever want to change. It'd probably be like, I'm walking. Oh, you don't feel me? I don't need you. I got money. I got what I got going on. This is the way I stand. So, what I really wanted to get through to you guys today by coming here, um, there's no limit to how much God loves you. And I believe that I'm a true testimony of that. Um, and I'll give you a little bit of insight. I've been to federal prison. I've been to prison. And I was going to go to prison again when I got my third DUI. And I remember driving to court, Michaela with me. And I remember pulling over and looking right at her and telling her, I might be going to jail today. And her ears tearing up. This was back in July. Her eyes tearing up and my eyes tearing up. And I says, I might be going to jail today. When that happens, I want you to sell the house. I want you to call my sister. And I want you to move close to her. And I might be gone about a year. But don't worry, I'll be back out. I didn't kill nobody, I got my third DUI. And I remember telling myself, man, all because I couldn't stop this drinking. So I go to that court, and it was not fun anymore. Mark spoke for me, and the district attorney, which is the one that's kind of against you, right? You guys never been to court, right? So she stood there and she did some maneuvering. And I remember hearing that judge, and he was talking something like 24 to 32 months or something like that. So I remember. And I thought to myself, oh, man. And then I couldn't really pay attention because first thing I thought was I'm going to jail. But he didn't put me in jail. And I thank God for that. Because I had talked to God, and I said, man, you know my heart, man. I've been drinking. I've been doing this dumb stuff. I've been mistreating my wife. I promise I'll do better. I promise I won't do this anymore. So he gave me an opportunity, I believe. I believe he looked at his son and he said, you sure you ready? Are you sure you're ready? Because it looks like you might be going to jail. I got another opportunity, thank God. I told my wife, we're selling that house because I have a lot of bad memories in that house, and we bought another house. I don't know if you guys helped us moving in. Miss Katie and a whole bunch of y'all helped us moving in this new house. And I made a choice. I said, not only am I not going to do this anymore, but I would like to use my testimony give you guys some of my failures and experiences and my down low, lowest narcissistic, controlling, manipulative, all that I was. And I may not have been doing other things like robbing, stealing, and killing, but I was robbing, stealing, and killing from the people I love on the inside out. And that's different. I was robbing my kids of their future. I was robbing my wife. I was taking. I was putting them in a trauma that they didn't deserve. So I was robbing, stealing, and killing, but I was doing it from the people I love. And I made a choice, and I decided I want to love them now, and I want to change this, and I want to give my testimony to some individuals that were in my same position. I'm not saying this is going to set you straight. The mountain is there for you to go around it as long as many times as you want. All I'm saying is it took me to make that decision. I want to change. I want to love. I want to stop doing what I used to do. I don't know how. That's why we're here. I don't know how either. That's why we're here together. But you've got to start. And there's a lot of, things that we can go into. But if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing to make that change, you're only fooling yourself. You're only fooling yourself. I came here to give you guys a little bit of that info, hoping that my testimony could give you guys a little insight that it doesn't matter what you've done, doesn't matter how you did it, doesn't matter why you did it. What matters is you're not wanting to do that no more, and you've taken a step for the better, which is choosing God and choosing His love for you. And mind you, a lot of people say, well, that's transactional. Okay. But if He loves me and forgives me, I've got to love and forgive. Right? And who do you have to love and forgive first? Start making those decisions. Start saying, man, I messed up bad, but not no more. I've done this, but not no more. Let's get up. Let's have a good day. Let's love this day that God's given us. Let's say good things to each other and turn it around. I don't want to mention how hard it can be sometimes. Right? Because it can be hard, because we live, how Mark said it, we live in a broken world. It's hard. But I'd rather be doing this hard than the heart that I used to be with the super monster that I was. Right? So I want you guys to just give you guys some love. Give yourself some love and some compassion and some time to look at where you were and the steps that you're making to be different, right? Because I want to be different, and I have to learn every day. I have to learn every day how to respect, how to love, how to cherish, and I got on my knees every day and I pray for him to help me to change my heart. Change my heart. Change my heart. I don't want to be who I used to be. Um, I love you guys, and if any of you guys got anything to say, I love you too, Katie.
Thank you, Javier. Yeah, it doesn't all go together. Yeah, I learned that too. You're an electrician. You can figure it out. You know, I love our church. I remember when I came to this church 30 years ago, our saying was that we are an oasis of love and acceptance and forgiveness. Javier spoke about it today that you realize how powerful it is just to accept people the way they are. You know, we live in a world that doesn't do that. We live in a world that's so insecure that they feel like they need to somehow feel better than other people. And just accepting people. And it takes exactly what Javier said, accept your own failures. When you can look at yourself and see your own failures, it enables you to give grace to other people in theirs. And just because they fail differently than you do doesn't make it any worse. But at the same time, just because you fail differently than them doesn't make what you do any worse. Javier's right. I have said that we live in a broken world. But the truth is, all of creation is awaiting for the revealing of the sons of God. And what that means is that we have the opportunity as children of God to become a part of fixing our own little world. That's what Javier was talking about this morning. We have the ability. You know, here a while back he spoke and he said something that got a big laugh. He said, after all he said, never walk by a piece of trash without picking it up. And everybody laughed. But you know, there's a life principle there. And that's that we should make an attempt to leave everything better because we went through there. Because we were a part of it, we have the ability to make it better. And the greatest strength we have is humility. Being humble is the greatest strength we have. It's the greatest trait we can have. Because it enables us to give grace to others and accept others. Anyway, yeah, I love our church because we can come in here and share our failures and learn from them. And the greatest thing we learn is that we all fail. And therefore, we're okay, you know? The greatest thing in the world is when you can learn to like yourself and to love yourself, because then you can truly learn to love others. Anyway, anybody got anything? Love you all.